This is 3D Bible Devotion Hub.
In the quiet tapestry of history, woven with threads of hope and doubt, we find extraordinary stories of ordinary women. These are the tales of women of great faith whose trust in God reshaped their world and ours. Their lives whisper across centuries, inviting us to see how faith can move mountains. First, we meet Sarah, a woman whose faith was tested by time. For years, she carried the ache of an empty womb and a promise that seemed impossible. Yet she held on, learning to trust in God's timing over her own. When laughter finally filled her tent, it was the sound of a long-awaited promise fulfilled. Genesis 21 tells us that at the appointed time, Sarah conceived and bore a son, Isaac, proving that faith that waits is never in vain. Next, we see Rebekah, a woman of decisive action. When Abraham's servant arrived at the well, seeking a wife for Isaac, Rebekah didn't hesitate. Her response was immediate and filled with a spirit of generosity. Her willingness to leave her home and journey to a new land was a profound act of faith. Genesis 24 shows her faith that responds. A powerful reminder that sometimes God's call requires a swift and trusting yes. Then we walk the dusty roads with Ruth, a woman whose loyalty became her legacy. After losing her husband, she refused to leave her mother-in-law, Naomi. Her famous words, "Where you go, I will go," were more than just a promise. They were a declaration of unwavering faith in Naomi's God. This faith that clings led her from poverty to a place of honor in the lineage of kings. As celebrated in the book of Ruth, we find Hannah in the temple, her heart heavy with sorrow. Year after year, she prayed for a child, her tears a silent testament to her deep longing. In her anguish, she made a vow to God, pouring out her soul in prayer. Her faith wasn't quiet. It was a desperate, honest cry. 1 Samuel chapter 1 tells of her faith that pours out, a faith that holds nothing back from God and trusts Him with its deepest desires. Now we enter the royal courts of Persia with Esther, a queen who faced an impossible choice. When her people were threatened with annihilation, she chose courage over comfort. Risking her life, she stood before the king, declaring, "If I perish, I perish." Her faith was not passive. It was a faith that stands firm in the face of fear, using her position for God's divine purpose, as chronicled in the book of Esther. In a time of chaos and oppression, a leader emerged. Deborah, a prophetess and judge, was a beacon of wisdom and strength. She didn't lead from a throne but from under a palm tree, dispensing God's justice. She rallied a nation and led them to victory, proving that God can raise up leaders from the most unexpected places. The book of Judges chapter 4 showcases her faith that leads, inspiring a nation to trust in God's deliverance. Behind the walls of Jericho lived Rahab, a woman whose faith saved her family. Hearing the stories of God's power, she chose to believe. She risked everything to hide the Israelite spies, her actions a testament to a newfound trust. A simple scarlet cord hanging from her window became a symbol of her faith that saves. A powerful story of redemption found in Joshua chapter 2. We then join Miriam by the banks of the Nile, a young girl watching over her baby brother in a basket. Her quick thinking saved Moses, the future deliverer of her people. Later, after crossing the Red Sea, she led the women in a powerful song of praise. Her life was marked by a faith that worships, celebrating God's mighty acts with tambourine and dance. As we see in Exodus chapter 15, in the hallowed courts of the temple, we meet Anna. A widow for most of her long life, she never left the temple, worshiping night and day with fasting and prayer. Her eyes were fixed on the hope of Israel's redemption. Her persistent devotion shows us a faith that waits in worship, a quiet, steadfast trust that was rewarded when she finally saw the infant Messiah, as Luke chapter 2 recounts. Next, we see a young girl in Nazareth named Mary. An angel appeared with an astonishing message. She would bear the Son of God, faced with a future she couldn't comprehend. Her response was one of beautiful submission. "I am the Lord's servant." Her life is a portrait of a faith that surrenders, a willing vessel for God's incredible plan. A story beautifully captured in the Gospel of Luke. By the empty tomb, in the dim light of dawn, we find Mary Magdalene. She had followed Jesus, her life transformed by His grace, now overcome with grief. She was the first to witness the resurrected Lord, her journey from sorrow to joy, from disciple to the first evangelist, is a testament to a faith that follows, even through the darkest valleys, a powerful narrative in John chapter 20. Finally, we meet Phoebe, a woman celebrated by the Apostle Paul in his letter to the Romans. He calls her a deacon and a benefactor to many. Though her story is brief, her impact was significant. She was a trusted carrier of Scripture and a pillar of the early church. Her life demonstrates a faith that serves, a practical, hands-on faith that strengthens the community and advances the gospel. From Sarah's patient hope to Phoebe's dedicated service, these women paint a vibrant picture of faith in action. Their stories are not just ancient history, they are a living invitation. They remind us that God still writes His story through ordinary people who trust Him. Their legacy is our encouragement. May we, too, live with a faith that waits, responds, clings, prays, stands, leads, saves, worships, surrenders, follows, and serves. Thanks for watching.